Each week, it gets more and more fun on the Valley here. We get a chance to speak with Mary Evans, the head coach at Valpo University. Mary, so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for being with us.
Travels.
You're in a car. I'm not in the same location that I'm usually in either. What are you doing?
We're heading out to recruit. MLK weekend is a big weekend. There's a lot of tournaments around the country. And we're blessed to be really close to Ohio, and they have one of the best with the Classic in the country and the Classic in the city this year. So heading out to see some young players play basketball and looking forward to it.
One of the things that MLK taught us, and he would have been 93 years old if he was still alive, was how to be a really good servant leader. How does that manifest itself in how you lead your team and what you do with your players?
You know, I hope that we are teaching them a lot more than just the game of basketball. I hope that they're learning how to be good people. I hope they're learning how to live a life of being grateful for the opportunities that they have presented to them. And I try to model for them that no job is too small for anyone to do, and that, you know, we're all out here just trying to achieve the same goal, and we're vessels for them, our coaching staff, to help them become better. But you know, it's always about them, and it's always about trying to help them become the most successful players and people, and just become better humans, I hope, after 40 years, and have a better outlook on life, and be thankful and feel lucky that they get to live the life that they get to live, because there are a lot of people that would love to be in their shoes, to be college athletes and to get a free education, and they need to be very thankful for that.
You said a couple of things there that are interesting to me. Free education seems to be lost in the conversation these days about what young people get to experience on a college campus. And then the pure essence of teaching and what that responsibility is. And I know you take that very seriously. Either one of those you can address.
Yeah, I think, you know, I can't believe that I'm saying that I feel like I'm in a different generation than some of the players that I coach, but you know, I'm fortunate to have met a wonderful man who was a Division III athlete, so I understand the value of a free education because he was a Division III baseball player, and that came with a lot of student loans. And so I get and understand how lucky and fortunate I was to be able to start my life off without having kind of that, some people call it change wrapped around your ankles, like pulling you down when you're having to make that payment every month out of your paycheck. And so I get that, you know, they put in a lot of time and energy, and it's a lot of work to be a college athlete. But if you handle it correctly, you get to start off your life in a much better position than the majority of your peers. And I think that does get lost a lot. And I think it is something that is extremely valuable for them to start being able to build wealth and to build savings, and not just spend the first 10, 15, 20 years of their adult life paying off an education.
You and I have that in common. My husband played baseball at Columbia University, and that was an Ivy League school with no athletic scholarship. So I inherited 17 years of his debt while I had a free education. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And I understand that when it comes to trying to put together your team, what are the things that you draw from on your experience or your husband's, or even from your children, in trying to put some tough love and some discipline and some execution and all the other things that you sprinkle in to try to make your team better?
I think I talk a lot in the recruiting process about trying to treat our players much like I would want my children being coached. And I think, you know, as a parent, I think it's made me a much better coach, but I think you learn that you're not always loved or liked even by your kids. Like, you have to say no sometimes, and that's hard for them to hear. And they often get frustrated and angry with you, but it's coming from a place of loving them and wanting to help and teach them your values. And so I think it coincides as you're building your team and you're trying to build your core values. Sometimes you have to have those hard, difficult conversations, and sometimes people have to be unhappy with you, but you're trying to help them learn what the values of your program is and what the values of our university and our athletic department is. And I think it's really important, and I think I try to draw from that a lot. And I understand kids make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but you have to be able to own up to things, and you have to grow and learn, and that is life, and you should never stop growing or learning, and you're never going to stop making mistakes. And being able to self-reflect and be able to have some of those difficult conversations with yourself internally and with your team on things that we need to be better at or do better at are I think, really good life lessons as you grow up and you get married and you start your own little new team and you work with people in a setting in your career, and you've got to figure out how to work and learn and grow with those people as well. So I think it's a really neat thing for the players. And I sometimes think when you're in it, you don't understand how much you're learning until you're out of it. And then you're like, wow, I learned a lot in those 4 years about how to be a good teammate as an employee, with my employment. And also when you get married and have kids, how to be a good teammate in that part of your life as well, because you're forever part of a team.
Amen. I believe that 100%. Team Antonelli is rolling and rocking and rolling every day. So I know exactly what you mean. I think this is sometimes an overused cliche when coaches talk about culture and identity. I want to get your take on it because I know you've given it some thought over the time that you've been a head coach.
Yeah.
What do you think about culture and identity?
I think it's really important. And I know we've tried to be more intentional about spending time on it. Coming out of COVID, I think you're dealing with people that spend a lot of time online, and you've dealt with the last year and a half, 2 years of kids being very separated from other people. As you know, last year it was nuts. I mean, I had kids telling me last year, this is why I can't hang out with people. Like when they tested positive, I'm like, well, no, we're social people. You need to be around people. And, so we've tried to do more things where we're getting them together and spending intentional time and quality time. And
Okay, Mary. So now give us kind of a lay of the land. Like, where are you in the rebuilding process at Valparaiso with your program?
I think we made some great strides. Obviously the start of this year was not what we thought it would be. I challenged them, I thought, with a pretty difficult non-conference schedule. Didn't love how we reacted to it, but I think we're seeing some growth from that as the start of the conference has started. So I think we're in a good spot right now. And I think we're starting to see some of our younger players, some of our freshmen from last year and sophomores from last year, starting to step up their game. So I think we're where we need to be, and we're moving in the right direction. And obviously there's still a lot of games to play this season, and I'm excited about some of our young kids that are playing better basketball. I'm excited to get Carrie back off of injury and get her inserted, back into the rotation. So I think we talked a lot about not understanding why we had to kind of go through some of the COVID issues we went through and some of the injuries, and even the non-conference, but just trusting that we were going through it and it was going to make us better and it was going to make us stronger. And that's kind of been our mindset over the last couple of weeks.
You guys have had an interesting non-conference schedule. Last year, you played a really hard one as well. What's your philosophy on scheduling? Because to me, the Missouri Valley is a really hard conference to win inside the league. So you might see progress not measured on the left side of the column versus the right side.
Yeah, I think you can go one of two ways, and I've worked for coaches that like to schedule to make sure that they get to those 20 wins every year. I played for a coach at Georgia Southern that very much believed in challenging us. The SoCon, when I played, was a one-bid league. Obviously, the Valley is not just a one-bid league. I do think we're a team in a situation where it's going to take us winning the tournament in order to be able to be that bid. So I think you can challenge your team in that such situation to prepare them for the Valley, because it's really going to all boil down to how do you play during the course of the regular season to get yourself positioned with a good seed to put yourself in a good situation to hopefully play for a championship. And so that's been kind of the thought process since the 1920 season, where I thought we played a weaker non-conference schedule. And then I thought that first week or two in the Valley really we got smacked in the face with the physicality and the strength and the speed. And so we have made an effort the last 2 years to make sure that we play teams that will know where we're at, will know what we need to work on and get better at prior to that first weekend in late December, early January, when we break into Valley play.
Mary, we're so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's great to get a mix of family and basketball and to listen about some of your stories and some of the influences that you've had on your career.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for hitting us on the road. You're literally on the road with Mary Evans, Valparaiso.